Gen Z is the most connected generation in history, yet they're also the most anxious, distracted, and lonely. Mobile phones, meant to make life easier, are quietly destroying focus, relationships, and even mental health. The question is, what can parents do before it's too late? Walk into any cafe, classroom, or family living room and you'll see it. Heads bowed, eyes glued to glowing screens. What once was a device for making calls has quietly transformed into the centerpiece of daily life, especially for Gen Z. For many, the smartphone is no longer just a tool, it's a lifeline. It's where they socialize, learn, play, shop, and even escape reality. But beneath the convenience lies a growing crisis: mobile phone addiction. This addiction doesn't arrive with alarms or warnings. It creeps in silently, disguised as harmless habits. A quick scroll before bed turns into hours lost to TikTok or Instagram. A notification ding becomes impossible to ignore, hijacking focus in school or at work. Even moments meant for family, meals, conversations, or simple rest are interrupted by the impulse to check the screen. Over time, this constant need becomes less of a choice and more of a compulsion. Gen Z, the first generation to grow up with smartphones in hand, faces this epidemic on an unprecedented scale. Studies reveal that the average teenager spends over 7 hours a day on their phone, not counting schoolwork. That's nearly half of their waking life consumed by a device. But what's more concerning is the psychological grip. Many admit feeling anxious, restless, or even panicked when separated from their phones, a phenomenon now known as nomophobia, the fear of being without a mobile device. This epidemic doesn't just affect personal habits. It rewires the way young people interact with the world. In face-to-face conversations, phones buzz with constant distraction, pulling attention away from real human connection. In classrooms, students struggle to focus on lessons as the pull of instant gratification from social media or games proves stronger than delayed academic rewards. Even in moments of rest, the body and brain rarely disconnect, as late night scrolling delays sleep and disrupts natural rhythms. What makes this epidemic so dangerous is its invisibility. Unlike alcohol or drug abuse, mobile phone addiction is socially accepted, even encouraged. Teachers hand out assignments through apps. Parents allow extra screen time to keep kids occupied. Friends bond over memes and viral videos. It becomes harder to spot the difference between healthy use and dependency when the entire culture normalizes constant connection. Yet, beneath the surface, the signs are there. Increased irritability when phones are taken away. A declining ability to focus on tasks for more than a few minutes. A preference for digital interaction over real-world experiences. These are not just quirks. They're warnings that an entire generation may be losing its ability to live fully present lives. The silent epidemic of mobile phone addiction is reshaping how Gen Z thinks, feels, and grows. And unless parents, educators, and society recognize the problem, we risk raising a generation more connected to screens than to people, more comfortable with virtual reality than the real world. On the surface, mobile phones seem harmless. After all, they connect us, entertain us, and even help us learn. But for Gen Z, constant connection comes with a hidden price tag. The costs aren't financial. They're emotional, psychological, and even physical. These costs quietly erode well-being, leaving scars that are often invisible until it's too late. One of the most profound consequences is the toll on mental health. Social media platforms, designed to maximize engagement, bombard young minds with endless comparisons. Every swipe shows someone prettier, richer, fitter, or more successful. For a teenager still figuring out their identity, this creates a relentless pressure to measure up. The result, rising rates of anxiety, depression, and self-doubt. A generation that should be discovering confidence is instead drowning in comparison. Constant phone use also breeds a strange kind of loneliness. Gen Z may have hundreds, even thousands, of online friends, but many struggle with real-world connections. Likes, comments, and shares can't replace genuine human interaction. Psychologists have found that heavy social media users often feel more isolated than those who limit their screen time. It's a cruel irony. The devices meant to connect us are leaving young people feeling more disconnected than ever. Sleep is another casualty. The blue light emitted from screens tricks the brain into staying awake, suppressing melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep. Add to that the temptation of late night scrolling, and many teens sacrifice precious hours of rest. The consequences are devastating: fatigue, poor academic performance, irritability, and even long-term health risks. A tired mind cannot learn, create, or grow effectively. Yet millions of Gen Z teens begin each day already exhausted from their digital habits. Focus and attention span are also under siege. Smartphones deliver dopamine hits with every notification, rewiring the brain to crave constant stimulation. Long-term tasks, like reading, studying, or even holding a deep conversation, feel boring compared to the instant thrill of a video or message. Teachers and employers report that attention spans are shrinking, making it harder for Gen Z to sustain effort on meaningful work. The phone promises productivity, but often delivers distraction. Even relationships within families are affected. Parents compete with screens for their children's attention, and often screens win. Meals once filled with conversation now pass in silence, interrupted by glances at glowing devices. Over time, this erodes bonds, leaving both parents and children feeling unseen. It's not just a matter of lost time. It's the loss of intimacy, trust, and connection that families desperately need. The hidden costs of constant connection extend beyond individuals. They ripple through society. A generation distracted, anxious, and disconnected will struggle to lead, innovate, or build strong communities. If left unchecked, the very fabric of culture may weaken under the weight of screen dependency. What makes these costs so dangerous is their invisibility. Unlike a broken bone or a visible injury, the harm of phone addiction unfolds quietly, day by day, habit by habit. By the time the damage is recognized, patterns may already feel impossible to break. That is why awareness is not optional. It is urgent. Every generation faces challenges, but Gen Z's relationship with technology is unique. Unlike their parents or grandparents, they never knew a world without the internet. For them, smartphones aren't just devices. They are extensions of identity, communication, and daily life. This deep integration makes them especially vulnerable to mobile phone addiction. The first reason lies in psychology. Tech companies design apps with one goal: to keep users hooked. Endless scrolling, autoplay videos, and notification badges aren't accidental. They are carefully engineered to trigger dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. Each like, each message, each new video offers a tiny surge of pleasure. Over time, young brains, still developing impulse control and long-term focus, become wired to chase these instant rewards. For Gen Z, phones aren't just tools. They're slot machines in their pockets. Second, there's the culture of validation. Social media has turned popularity into a measurable currency: likes, shares, comments, and followers. For many teens, self-worth is directly tied to these numbers. A post with low engagement feels like rejection, while viral attention brings temporary highs. This constant need for digital approval fosters anxiety and insecurity. Instead of developing confidence from real-world achievements, Gen Z often looks to their phones for validation. Peer pressure intensifies the problem. In earlier generations, fitting in meant wearing the right clothes or listening to the right music. Today, it means being online, constantly. Group chats, memes, trends, and viral challenges all demand attention. Missing out means social exclusion. This fear of being left behind, often called FOMO, fear of missing out, drives teens to check their phones obsessively. The device becomes not just entertainment, but a passport to belonging. Parents, often unknowingly, contribute to the vulnerability. Many adults model the same behaviors they warn their kids about: scrolling at the dinner table, checking emails during family time, or watching videos late at night. Children see this and conclude that constant connection is normal. In homes where screens dominate, boundaries blur. It's difficult for Gen Z to resist addiction when the very role models they look up to are also glued to devices. Biology plays a role too. The teenage brain is wired for exploration, novelty, and social interaction. Smartphones provide all three in abundance: new content, new connections, new stimulation. Unlike books, sports, or hobbies that require effort and patience, phones deliver gratification instantly. For a generation primed for curiosity but still learning self-control, this combination is almost irresistible. Finally, the world itself reinforces dependence. Schools rely on digital platforms for homework, research, and communication. Social movements organize online. Entertainment, from music to movies, is streamed through apps. For Gen Z, disconnecting doesn't just mean stepping away from distraction. It can mean feeling cut off from the world entirely. These overlapping forces, psychology, culture, peer pressure, parental influence, biology, and environment, create the perfect storm. Gen Z's vulnerability isn't a matter of weakness. It's the predictable outcome of being raised in a digital, first world. Recognizing these factors is the first step toward understanding why phone addiction isn't just a bad habit. It's a generational crisis. Once we recognize the dangers of mobile phone addiction, the next question is unavoidable. What can parents do? Many feel powerless, as though their children's phones have more authority than they do. But the truth is, parents hold incredible influence. With patience, consistency, and love, they can help guide Gen Z toward healthier digital habits. The first step is leading by example. Children learn more from what they see than from what they're told. If parents are constantly scrolling through social media or checking emails during family time, kids will assume that's normal behavior. By setting boundaries for themselves, putting phones away at dinner, limiting screen time before bed, parents model balance. It's not about perfection, but about showing that life beyond the screen is possible and valuable. Creating tech-free zones is another powerful strategy. The dinner table, for instance, can become a sacred space for conversation and connection. Bedrooms should also be free of phones at night, protecting sleep and encouraging rest. When families establish areas or times where phones are off limits, they reclaim moments of genuine interaction that technology often steals. These boundaries send a clear message: human connection matters more than digital distraction. Instead of relying solely on restrictions, parents should encourage healthy alternatives. Phones often fill gaps: boredom, loneliness, or lack of purpose. By helping children discover hobbies, sports, many teens or creative outlets, phones, not just parents offer richer forms of engagement. From stress, a teenager who learns guitar, paints, or joins a sports team experiences fulfillment that scrolling can never provide. Activities that require patience and practice teach resilience and joy qualities that endless swiping erodes. Opens doors to honest discussions. Instead of lecturing, parents should listen. Understanding the why behind a child's screen habits is the first step to helping them change. It's also important to set boundaries without extreme control. Overly strict rules, like banning phones entirely, can backfire, creating resentment or secretive behavior. Instead, collaborative rule setting works best. Parents and children can agree on guidelines together. How many hours of screen time, when to put phones away, and which apps are acceptable. When kids feel ownership in the process, they're more likely to respect the rules. Finally, parents should reframe technology as a tool rather than a crutch. Phones are not inherently bad. They can be used for learning, productivity, and creativity. Parents can encourage positive use by introducing educational apps, family projects, or even digital detox challenges. This shifts the relationship from dependency to intentional use, teaching Gen Z to control their devices instead of being controlled by them. The task isn't easy. Parents are fighting against billion-dollar industries designed to capture attention. But love, consistency, and presence are stronger forces. By leading with example, setting boundaries, encouraging alternatives, and fostering open dialogue, parents can help their children break free from the grip of phone addiction and rediscover the joy of living in the real world. If the first step is awareness and the second is action, the final step is vision. What kind of future do we want for Gen Z? A future where they are enslaved by their devices, or one where they use technology with purpose, balance, and freedom? The answer depends on the choices we make today. Building a healthier digital future isn't just about limiting screen time. It's about reshaping how young people think about technology altogether. At the heart of this future is digital literacy. Just as children are taught to read and write, they must also learn how to navigate the digital world wisely. That means understanding that social media is engineered for profit, that algorithms are designed to manipulate attention, and that not everything online is true. When teens realize the mechanics behind their favorite apps, they gain the power to resist them. Awareness transforms technology from a trap into a tool. Another key is teaching self-control. Addiction thrives when impulse wins over discipline. Parents and educators can help by introducing small but consistent practices that strengthen willpower. Setting personal screen time goals, practicing phone-free mornings, or using apps that track and limit usage. These aren't punishments. They're exercises in building digital resilience. Over time, children learn that they are in charge of their devices, not the other way around. Equally important is reframing the role of the phone itself. A smartphone should be seen as a tool to enhance life, not as life itself. Encourage young people to use their devices for creation rather than consumption. Recording music, designing art, coding apps, or even starting a small business. When phones become instruments of growth instead of endless distraction, they empower rather than enslave. The healthier future also requires strong communities. Schools can play a vital role by promoting tech balance initiatives, such as digital detox weeks, outdoor activities, or mindfulness programs. Parents can collaborate with other families to create collective guidelines so children don't feel isolated in their boundaries. Society as a whole must begin celebrating moments of presence. Books read, conversations shared, and experiences live, rather than glorifying hours spent online. Most importantly, we must remind Gen Z of what really matters. No notification is more valuable than a face-to-face conversation. No number of likes can replace true friendship. No viral video can equal the joy of living fully in the present. By constantly pointing to what is real, lasting, and meaningful, we help young people rediscover the beauty of life outside the screen. The road ahead will not be easy. Technology is only becoming more immersive, with virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and new platforms emerging every year. But if parents, educators, and young people themselves commit to intentional use, balance is possible. The healthier digital future is not about rejecting technology. It's about reclaiming control, setting boundaries, and remembering that human connection is the greatest gift of all. If we succeed, Gen Z won't be remembered as the lost generation of screens. Instead, they will be the generation that learned to master technology without losing their humanity, and that is a future worth fighting for.